Number 40, the Xanadu God is needed because our greatest masters have made terrible errors. Number 41, God is our teacher, one of the names of God. Number 42, God provides us with the wisdom far beyond our ability to discover. Number 43, God tries to ensure that the whole universe will not ever perish. There are many problems that can arise which threaten humanity. I don't know if that's a bit of a repeat of the other one there. Number 44, God cannot be commanded by us to execute actions. Number 45, God's presence can be detected, i.e. we can see where he is or where he was. He leaves a trace behind him sometimes. Number 46, God is the greatest being in the universe. Number 47, God's presence is more prominent in more perfect people, i.e. intelligent, righteous, or other talent. 48, God is the cause of the sustenance of the universe, both structural and functional. Number 49, God is the only one who can bring about certain events in the universe. 50, God helped create all manners of being and will eventually create a perfect man, a perfect woman. Number 51, God has a parallel consciousness, i.e. he can do many things simultaneously. A very complicated idea because a computer can be, you can have one computer, one processor, or you can have a supercomputer which has many processors, but then is it really one computer or many computers really? But in a way our brain really has many billions or many more neurons or glial cells also. So really they work as a network in parallel, so that is still considered to be one person. Because it gives rise to one consciousness, I think. Or they belong to one person. Number 52, the Xanadu God is incredibly quick to act in order to keep up with virtually an infinite number of incredibly fast-moving things happening in the universe at any given time. Well, right now there's about 7 billion people in the world. Someone estimated there's about 100 billion people who ever live. About the number of stars in our galaxy alone. So it's hard to keep track of all that. Although there could be people who died and there are guardian angels, they assist God. Number 53, God does not know all the future, even though part of it is predestined by him, and even though he intervenes in the world. This is necessary since God grants man the dignity of some freedom of choice. Well, we don't have complete free choice, but we have to be given some choice. Number 54, God has to be understood by us, even if not completely. We may understand him each at some different level of abstraction completely. Number 55, the Xanadu God has existed outside time unless he exists in an instant of time which is infinite in extent. So a finite number of them may have elapsed. Since need to explain how an infinite magnitude of time could have elapsed from the beginning to the present, when we believe that the infinite is something that cannot be traversed. Infinite velocity, question mark. Is time discrete? Not really. Continuous, like Aristotle said, the world has gaps in it and was often often also outside time. God will sort of quote sleep unquote and are outside of time periodically. Somebody told me that according to Hermann Cohen, maybe the most famous neo-Kantian philosopher who lived 19th and 20th century, simple things in the world can be unified, but like the integral calculus of Newton, to become finite and become part of our universe. So that gave me an idea that maybe things in the past existed as simple things, and then by a process of integration they were joined together, and thus they became finite. So you can go all the way to the past and then join them together and become finite. And so now that's how time actually becomes created. It's maybe a better theory than the Big Bang theory that is so famous in physics. Joseph Bidon, that's my theory, how the universe began. Because Aristotle says you cannot create something out of nothing, and even Aristotle, it's a recent theory I have. Even Einstein believes in a Big Bang like about 14 billion years ago, but he rejected free will and he rejected chance. So how could the universe come into existence then? I don't know if he contradicted himself, because Aristotle says the only other kinds of causes are material, efficient, formal, and end causes. So the only consequence is that the only thing left is that the universe is infinite. But so in a way, maybe Einstein contradicted himself. 56. The Xanadu God cannot do what is impossible because of the limits of reality also. Because he cannot do what is impossible because of logical impossibility, but there's also a limitation due to available resources. What is available is also another kind of impossibility. Number 57. God provides communication between galaxies across the universe since they are too far apart for human technology. And that is, I think, maybe one of in my list of proofs of God, if you can detect this. 58. The Xanadu God is best at complex and abstract thoughts, so he needs humanity for simpler details, observation, and problem solving. 59. The Xanadu God's action in history have been recorded by light waves and other means, so these may be made known in the future. If that is so, then maybe that will be another proof of the existence of God. Number 60. God can create something that will last forever. Number 61. The Xanadu God must allow seeing his souls directly under certain circumstances. That is, not just indirectly by him taking some form of physical shape. 62. God must allow worshippers to unite their soul with his soul directly by some form of touching of some kind, and not indirectly through a body. 63. The Xanadu God can move objects at will from far away. 64. God can read minds of people. 65. God can see and hear things at another location. 66. God can send his voice on another location. 67. God can learn at super speed. 68. God has a total retention recall. 69. God can understand the most complex ideas. He is very clever. He was very deep. He has very deep thought processes. This was influenced by the episode where no one has gone before of Star Trek. One of the first episodes, where Gary Mitchell becomes godlike, although he becomes more like a devil or something, because he changed too quickly. Number 70. God can break force fields which are obstacles for movements. This also. God can diagnose great problems in engineering, medicine, law, politics, etc. Number 72. God can command computers from a distance to perform tasks at will. 73. God can use military weapons against his enemies. 74. God has perfect physical and psychological health. 75. God can terminate his life and return back to life at will. 76. God can do any conceivable type of job if necessary. 77. God can be described mathematically, since God is a form of energy, and energy is related to frequency, and frequency is related to colors and sounds that we can see or hear. So we can truly sense, quote-unquote, God in an intellectual way. Is God a mathematical infinite, question mark? Actually, maybe it's not quite true. Maybe you might need an algorithm, not just a mathematical equation. This is a critique of Einstein and physics also. The new physics might be algorithmic physics, not super string theory or quantum gravity or supersymmetry or something, but you need the new algorithms of especially if you see as precisely defined computer science in the last 50 years. Number 78. God can transport a person or object directly and instantly from one place and time to another place and time, but no one can change the past. 79. Well, in science fiction they assume you can change the past, but I don't think, or which and therefore the future, but I don't think you can change it. 79. The Xanadu God never lost a battle, or he did, but should not lose the war. 80. God will make each person as perfect as possible once he goes to heaven. 81. God makes each person's life, his creation story, as perfect as possible. Number 82. God is the source of our souls, while our parents are the source of our bodies. Well, that's what the Bible seems to suggest. 83. God will recreate all human history throughout the galaxies of this vast universe. 84. God lives with angels, which are really people that he saved at death, and these angels help him watch over us, guardian angels. 85. God will resurrect all of humanity and disperse them all over the universe. 86. God sees the world from universal and not just particular point of view, like Einstein's equations. The equations are correct. You just have to plug in I think you have to plug in the relative velocity between the different points of view in special relativity. In general relativity, you have also used tensor calculus. Tensors relate different kind of coordinate systems, so you have transformations. Well, also, I think I made a mistake. I don't know if I'm the only one, but the equations of general relativity are those equations of gravity with acceleration and gravity being the same thing. Those equations with electricity and magnetism and gravity, these are the field equations of R subscript mu v minus 1/2 G subscript mu v R is equal to minus kappa T subscript mu v. Really, that's a very complicated set of equations. It's just his shorthand. This is really the field equations. But these are part of Einstein's attempt to unify electromagnetism and gravity, and he didn't finish it. It's not part of general relativity. This is part of his grand unification theory. I thought that's not general relativity. He's trying to go beyond it, and that he never finished it. He proposed it, but some people objected that he introduced gravity and electromagnetism separately in an artificial way, and it was not incomplete. And he said we didn't even know the laws of distribution of charge inside matter, only outside. And also even said the equations of relativity would reduce to algebra, because in quantum mechanics, if they're correct, you only need like 3 or 4 quantum numbers. Well, they add a 4th quantum number, a spin later, because the Schrödinger equation gives you the quantum numbers, or matrix mechanics also. You only have digital number of orbits. I don't think it's true though. It's the same thing within in the cosmos. It's just that certain orbits are stable. It doesn't mean that it reduces to algebra or a specific solution. Although, because in the atom though, there's only special stable atoms, like maybe about 100 different elements or atoms, where like hydrogen has 1 electron and proton nucleus and 1 electron in orbit, etc. There's oxygen, nitrogen, all that. These are just means that only certain orbits are stable. It doesn't mean. But once if electrons become rogue, or a planet becomes rogue, you still have to apply gravitational theory, or electromagnetism if for an electron. It's only this. Even I think in Star Trek, when the spaceship goes around a planet, there's only you have to calculate which orbit is stable. You can't go at any orbit that you want. '87. God can carry out an argument with an infinitely long series of premises. A series may also be a directed graph, not just a series. 88. The Xanadu God can carry out an argument with an infinite number of interdependent series of reasoning executed in parallel. A series may also be a directed graph. Number 89. God can use an infinite sequence of methods in an argument. And now I think I reached about 2,000 known reasoning methods. And I classified them into over 300 super reasoning methods. I think Kant's Critique of Pure Reason only used one reasoning method, the syllogism of Aristotle, the categorical, hypothetical, and disjunctive, I think. I think he didn't even use the calculus of Newton, the integral and differential equations. Number